So what's the difference between a major chord and a minor chord? What's the difference between a major chord and a minor chord? Flat the third. You flat the third. Okay, in an E major chord, what note is the third? Fourth half step above E, G sharp, right? So in an E major chord, the third is G major. If we want to make it an E minor chord, we want to take the G sharp and flatten it. With me so far. E major, E, G sharp, and B. We want to make it minor. We want to flatten the third. So we're going to make it a G natural. This setup with the 88 dynamite makes it really easy to go from this shape of E major, where my index finger is pulling my G sharp down, and it's the only 3 in my voicing. It's the only third in my voice. Everything else is a E or a B. There's only one G something. My index finger is making it happen right here with G sharp. So if I want to make this a minor, it's as simple as lifting up my index finger, letting this G become G natural. Now I got E minor. And you can see that in the second row on the far left, the E minor shape looks suspiciously like the E shape missing a finger, which in itself is suspicious. And for all of you on the internet that don't have all 10 of your fingers, I so apologize if I just offended you. Feel free to write. So by the same token, at the A major chord, we've got the 1, 2, and 3, just like that. But the third of the chord, which is C sharp, is being handled by my ring finger here on the B string. They're doing the C sharp that I have. So if I want to make it minor, I take that C sharp down a half step, and I have to swap my fingers around because I want to grab that right there. So I move my fingers to grab those two and let my index finger come down and hit A natural, and that's where you see, C natural. And now you got the shape of the A minor chord. Feel free to rewind on the video because I said it wrong. Again, with that A minor chord, I'm not playing the E string, it's X'd. I'm playing the A open. I've got these two guys fretted, and then the fret comes back a notch over here to get the C A minor. Look at A major and compare it to A minor. Only one minor difference, pun intended. Same thing with D major shape. Here's my D major shape. On the bottom, A, D, and F sharp. This note right here, that's my F sharp. It's the only 3 represented. So if I want to make it minor, I got to take that guy south a half step. Taking this guy south would be this way. Excuse me. So now I want to keep these guys here. Here's my minor chord. D minor. And of course, if you'll glance at the C or the G majors that are represented, those are the other 2 shapes that are really very easy to create on a guitar. Now, any questions, and I would love a question from somebody who's been playing guitar for a while, who knew all these shapes, but didn't know what's going on underneath. But if you've got any other question, that's fine too. Any questions at all? Sudai.
I don't know. Is it hard not to play those top 2 strings?
She has a great question. She says she doesn't play guitar at all. Is it hard to not play those 2 strings while they're strumming? And it's just a technique thing. At the beginning, you'll accidentally hit it a bunch, and over time, you'll start instinctively knowing, oh, when I play this chord, I only grab the bottom 4 strings. Sometimes you'll mess up and knock them accidentally, and that's not good. But so is it hard? It's as hard as you're willing to practice to not do it, you know? So that's a great question. There's already candy at the table, so I've kind of bypassed the whole throwing it thing, and maybe that's probably safer. Insurance companies are happier about that. Let's move on to the next page. 64. Now here's a couple of other, page 64, here's a couple of other guitar-oriented fretboard things that I want to unpack for you. All of the previous chords we've used so far used 1 or more open strings. Okay? This will give it a more ringing sound. But these chords also would only use 3 fingers max. If you go back and look at the prior page, you only had 3 fingers being used. Okay? But you can also create chords with more fingers and with all frets down, as in no open strings. So let's look at B minor for a second. There's a lot of ways of playing an A chord for all of you who did the bonus exercise homework from last week, right? There's an almost infinite way of playing an A triad on the fretboard. There's all these kinds of possibilities. This is one way of playing a B minor. You take guitar lessons, they might show you another one first. But here's one. So B minor has what notes in it? And let's walk through. B major scale, B, C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp, let's stop there. So the 1, 3, 5 would be B, D sharp, and F sharp. So if we want to make it a minor, we're going to take the D sharp on the 3, knock it down a half step to D natural. So the notes in our B minor, and you can write this out there if you want to next to it, the notes in a B minor chord are B, D, and F sharp. So we want to make a chord that's B, D, and F sharp on the fretboard. The easiest way to start with that is bypass both the E and the 8 strings, the E and A string, okay, and start on the D string, going up 1, 2, 3, 4 frets. 4 half steps above D is an F sharp. Okay? So our bottom pitch, our lowest pitch, is going to be F sharp. So one could look at this as a B minor with an F sharp in the bass. Right? So I'll use my ring finger, as it indicates there, the number 3, on that F sharp. Right below it, on the next string down, I'll use my pinky, or the 4, to grab a B natural on the G string. Everybody with me so far? Are the letters going crazy, or are you following me? Okay, stay with me, stay with me. The next one down, as you'll see on the diagram, is the 2, or the middle finger, is going to be on a D of the B string. The 3rd fret of the B string makes a D. So I've already got the triad right there. F sharp, E. It just happens that the F sharp's on the bottom instead of the B, right? And then my index finger can grab the F sharp here on the 2nd fret. Okay? So if I just do the bottom 3 strings, I got B, F sharp, there's my minor triad. But it's real easy to grab one more string down with my finger and make a B minor with an F sharp on the bottom, make a little fuller voicing. With me so far? Let's take a look at F major. Everybody knows the F major scale is F, G, A, B, flat, C, D, E. And the 1, 3, and 5 of the F major scale would be F, A, and C. Now, when you talk all at once, it kind of overloads the mic, so calm it down just a notch, please. Just kidding. Let's all say it together. F, A, and C. Okay, so write that down if you want to. We're going to put this on the fretboard, F, A, and C. There is an open A string right here. 8 dynamite. So we could use this guy open if we wanted to, but let's make a chord where F is on the bottom. In which case, we could, just for the sake of this particular diagram, let's make F and build it from the higher pitch strings on down. An E string up here could be fretted at 1 fret at the half step to make it F natural. The B string can go up a half step to make a C natural. So there's an F and C. And then the G string can go up 2 frets or a whole step to make an A. So that right there, these 2 guys, notice I was flattening this finger. I should have done that now because it's going to come into play later. But if I go, how is this one? Yeah, he's doing both 1 and 1 if you see on the diagram. So I'm flattening my finger to grab both strings, A and another F down there. And there's my F major triad. Got 2 Fs in there. There's a little doubling going on. Okay. And then this last one I want to show a little bit different thing, because this isn't something they always teach on day 1 of guitar lessons, but to me it's a huge deal. Let's say we want a D chord, a D major triad, where we want to put an F sharp in the bass. Now if you want to glance for reference at the page before, the D major triad only used those bottom 4 strings, had the open D as the lowest pitch, and made this shape with the fingers to make the D major triad. Right there, the way I'm playing that, the D is on the bottom. It's a root position chord. I could also then strike all 5 strings here with this guy being my bottom one, 88, and then it becomes a D over A. But everybody who says their hand's not big enough, they just haven't stretched it out enough, because I'm pretty sure I've seen everybody, even with small hands, have been able to stretch their hands out to make their thumb grab the F sharp right here. Now we don't want a straight E because that's not part of our triad, right? Our triad is D, F sharp, and A. F sharp can be grabbed right there with my thumb, and thus if somebody wants to play D over F sharp, boom, I grab it with my thumb, I fret it there. Now, common mistake a lot of folks make that play bass and guitar in worship bands. They see the chord that says D over F sharp, and the guitar players mark out the F sharp and say that doesn't apply to me. And the bass players mark out the D and say that doesn't apply to me. This is not making music. This is trying to connect the dots. A musician wants to know the whole entire harmony of what's going on. Because at the beginning of the day, I can teach a chimpanzee to create the shapes on the page, and when the page says to make the shape. But a musician is creating sound. A musician is an artist. And so a musician says, I've got all kinds of voicings available to me. I've got all possible variations of bass lines available to me, so I need to know the overall harmony and chord so that I know what those options are and how they're going to interact. So if I'm a bass player and I'm playing the F sharp, if I know that the chord over is D over F sharp, I know that maybe I could do, and I could do a little riff in there because it's part of the D major scale. If it said F sharp minor, I'd still be playing the F sharp as my main note, but that would make me play something different. Because F sharp minor would make me approach it differently as a bass player than D over F sharp. Same thing with the guitar player. You won't have any idea how many keyboard players in your life think ill of you. Because at some point it says D over F sharp, and you insist on not playing that bottom note, and the keyboard player is going, those guitar players, they never learn how to do the altered bass right. Okay? There are not too hard ways of grabbing any altered bass that are possible on the fretboard. Learn them, my friends that are playing guitar. One good example, D over F sharp. You heard it here first. Okay? Any questions? Evan Anderson has a question. You're saying the pinky to grab here? Right there. Okay, Evan is suggesting that there's times where you could make the D and make the F sharp on the bottom be right there. I do occasionally, yeah, absolutely, that works. And it's a perfect example of how there's other ways of doing this. Okay, so here's that D chord. Here's the D. If I wanted to make the F sharp be the bottom, another alternative is D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp. My pinky's in a good spot if I've stretched out. For a beginning guitar player, it's usually hard to make the pinky do much with stretching because it requires some power, so they don't teach it right off. But technically this is just as valid of a D over F sharp as this. Great point, Evan. Another voicing. This one may be a little lighter. Let's do.